Have you ever had a taste of Coca-Cola? I know some of us growing up, when we used to have our day during vacations, Coca-Cola is one of the things normally we buy or our parents buy for us to go celebrate our day on vacation. But as a business person, have you ever asked yourself what is the story of Coca-Cola? So today on Let's Talk Business, we're going to look at the story of Coca-Cola and how we as entrepreneurs or business people or business-minded people, we can use that information to guide our steps, to shape us in our decision making. After telling you the story, I'm going to use it as a reference point for us to learn two important concepts in business. Those concepts we'll be looking at are ownership and opportunity. We're going to look at ownership and opportunity after listening to the story of Coca-Cola. So if you are excited about hearing the story of Coca-Cola, just like this video, follow us, and then share so that another business person can also benefit from this particular video. Before I begin to tell you the story of Coca-Cola, let me ask this question. Do you think the inventor of Coca-Cola is currently the one benefiting from Coca-Cola, or someone who bought Coca-Cola along the way is the one benefiting from Coca-Cola? I'm just going to give you a while to think over that, then we continue. Well, I know by now you have an answer, and whatever answer you have, write it down. At the end of the video, share with us in the comment section your answer to the question I asked so that we know what you think. What is the story of Coca-Cola? Coca-Cola actually has a very interesting story. So there was a doctor by name Dr. John Pemberton. Okay, John Pemberton was a military man. He also served in the American Civil War. After the Civil War, he suffered some injuries, and then he relied on morphine to take care of his illnesses or injuries. He was so addicted to the morphine to the point where he felt it was having a toll on his life. It was affecting the kind of perfect life he wants to have. What did he do? John Pemberton decided to look for ways to solve his problem. He decided to look for other means to reduce his reliance on the morphine. So he started experimenting from his lab and all that. And then he eventually came out with a particular syrup. In fact, a caramel colored syrup, which is normally mixed with carbonated water. This particular syrup that he developed was helping him to relieve his pain and also reduce his reliance on morphine. On the 8th of May 1886, that was the year John Pemberton perfected the syrup. And then they started selling it in pharmacies. A typical pharmacy that was sold in is the Jacob's Pharmacy in Atlanta. Now, when he did this, it now became a business plan. It became a business idea because he realized that the syrup was helping him, so he decided to sell it. So the pharmacies that were selling it, they were selling it at 5 cents per glass. 5 cents per glass. That is how much they were selling it. Now, as a businessman, he noticed that he was incurring a lot of cost in producing the syrup and then making some less sales. So what did he do? He decided to also bring in people, sell some of the shares to other people so that they can bring in money for him to produce more. Let me add that after his injuries from the Civil War, he was actually under financial distress. He was facing a lot of financial challenges. Therefore, he decided to also look for money from other places so that he can use to take care of his financial needs as well as support his creation. Unfortunately, John Pemberton died in 1888, specifically 16th August 1888. That was the year he died. Before he died, Pemberton had already sold some of the shares to people out there. And then the remaining shares that he had, he gave it to his son, Charles Pemberton, also known as Charlie Pemberton. So his son inherited his interest in the Coca-Cola business. Charlie Pemberton was also having an addiction problem. He was also having a lot of financial distress, and then he needed money. He therefore decided to sell his shares to other people. There was an investor who saw an opportunity. There was an investor who saw through the future and knew that Coca-Cola is going to be a very big brand. Therefore, he came in and bought these shares. His name is Asa Candler Griggs. Asa Candler Griggs consolidated all the other shares that Pemberton sold out to other people and brought it together to form a corporation. He incorporated this particular company, Coca-Cola, in 1892. That was the year he incorporated it. Even though it was incorporated earlier, after he bought all the shares, he decided to reorganize everything and then incorporate the business. So I hope you are following the story. John Pemberton invented Coca-Cola. He died, sold some of the shares, and then left some shares for his son, Charlie Pemberton. Pemberton also, due to financial distress, sold out everything. And then Asa Chandler, who saw the opportunity, bought those shares, consolidated the rest of the shares with his associates, and then reincorporated Coca-Cola in 1892. So the story of Coca-Cola is being taught in universities, being taught in schools, where people pay huge sums of money to go learn this particular story and how it can inform their decision making. But today I'm giving it to you for free. So, like I mentioned, John Pemberton invented Coca-Cola, died in 1888, transferred his interest to his son, who also died in 1894 after selling all the shares to Asa Griggs. Asa Griggs is the man who saw the future of Coca-Cola, is the man who knew that Coca-Cola can grow to become a renowned company. Even though John Pemberton, before his death, it is reported that he had said that Coca-Cola is going to become a national drink. Therefore, he wants to reserve some interest for his son. However, due to the financial distress and then the addiction problems his son was having, he also decided to sell his interest in Coca-Cola to Asa Griggs. Now, Asa Griggs came in with a master plan. He came in with brilliant marketing strategies. He came in with innovative ideas that transformed Coca-Cola to what we are seeing today. Why am I mentioning this to you? Because as a business person, I want you to learn something from this story. After listening to the story, now let us look at the ownership aspect and then the opportunity as I mentioned. When we talk of ownership, the surest way to create wealth, the surest way to be wealthy in life is one of them is what? Ownership. You have to, either you own the company or you own a part of someone's company. All accounts to what to call ownership. So what I'm trying to say from this story is that imagine that Charlie Pemberton had decided that no matter what, he's not going to sell his shares in what Coca-Cola. Today, his descendants would have been receiving millions and millions of United States dollars from Coca-Cola. Probably at the time he was selling, it was a viable idea for him because he needed the money to solve his problems. But if he had the opportunity to look into the future to see what we are seeing today, he would have suffered the problems there and then keep the company till today. So the lesson I want you to pick from this under ownership is that when you start a business, know that it takes time for that business to grow. When you want to be wealthy, know that you need to have a stake in a business. You need to either be the owner or have a part ownership of that particular business. It is the only surest way you can build wealth. I can give you examples. Look at around the world. Bill Gates, he has ownership in Microsoft. We can talk about Jeff Bezos. He has ownership in his companies. We can talk about Mark Zuckerberg. He has ownership in Facebook and then the rest. When we come to Ghana here, we have Ibrahim Mahama. He has ownership in his businesses. We have Honorable Kennedy in Japan. He has what? Ownership in his businesses. So ownership is one of the surest way you can become a wealthy person. So put it in your mind. When you start a business, don't be in a hurry to sell the business at the slightest problems you are facing. Try to endure. Try to hold on. And then have the vision for the business that it can become something that will transform the lives of your family and your generations to come. Now, let's look at the other aspects which I refer to as the opportunity. Asa Griggs, whose descendants probably are now benefiting more from Coca-Cola, he saw the opportunity. So what I'm saying is that it is not everyone who can start a business. It is not everyone who has an idea that he or she can implement. but you can sit down and look through the ideas of people and find an opportunity. That is exactly what Asa Greg Scandler did. He saw the opportunity in Coca-Cola. He saw where Coca-Cola will go, and he decided to say, let me come in and buy shares of this particular company. So right now, if you also want to be a wealthy person, identify opportunities available. Identify opportunities in other corporations. When you go to the stock exchange, companies are selling shares and all that. Go and buy ownership of their companies. Look for the opportunities in smaller businesses that are struggling and go and invest in them. Look for opportunities in other businesses that need funds. If you have the resources, go and invest in them. Because when you see the opportunity that nobody is seeing, today it might look like you are not going to make anything from it. But Coca-Cola's story is telling you that when you make the right decision, you end up benefiting in the future. So as an entrepreneur or a business person, ownership is key if you want to make wealth. Opportunity is also key if you want to make wealth. So look out for the opportunities available and see how you can maximize these opportunities to turn things around for you. And also, if you start a business, try as much as possible to continue to hold onto your ownership. Not all the shares. I mean, you can sell some of the shares to other people. You cannot hold 100% shares if you want your company to actually become a global corporation. You have to sell shares to other people. You have to open it to the public so that people will come in and invest in your company. But still, try to maintain some shares in the company so that it will still continue to do good for you and your generations. So, that is the story of Coca-Cola. And then look out for the two things I mentioned: ownership and opportunity, and see how you can maximize that so that your future will be changed forever. If you enjoyed this video, please share the video, comment, like, and follow us for more content. This has been Let's Talk Business with Akunye Michael, and as always, we will talk some more business next time.